Kentucky.
Reserving the right to object, I've consistently opposed spending outside of the budget unless it's offset by spending cuts elsewhere. It's not only an opinion that I hold, it's actually the law. It's called pay-as-you-go. We passed the law many years ago, more than a decade ago, to try to balance our books by having people come forward with things that sound good, want to spend it, but not offset it by spending cuts elsewhere. There's no question that the U.S. has been a very good ally of Israel over time. Probably funds exceeding $80 to $100 billion have been expended to Israel over the last 4 decades. Just on missile defense, the United States has given Israel $7 billion, $1.6 billion for Iron Dome, $2 billion for David Sling, and $3.7 billion for Arrow. In fact, the NDAA that just passed this week gives them another $100 million for this. I'm not disputing whether or not the extra $1 billion would help them. I'll vote for the extra $1 billion, and that's what I will propose today. But it should be offset with spending cuts elsewhere. There's a $3 billion fund that is left over from money we were giving to the Afghan national government. There is no Afghan national government. There's a bunch of hoodlums the Taliban have taken over. And I asked Secretary Blinken, I said, can you assure me you're not going to give these funds to the Taliban? He says, it depends on how they behave. So it isn't so certain that this money is not going to go to the Taliban. The current law may say future money goes, but this is old money. And we don't want it going to the Taliban, and we think it should be better spent. It's money that can be reclaimed. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to take money that might go to our enemy and actually give it to our ally? It makes perfect sense. Why would we be so obstinate that we're unwilling to take a pay-for? It's a pay-for that's sitting there waiting for us to use. $3 billion, supposed to give into the Afghan national government, it no longer exists. Let's take $1 billion of that. Let's give it for Iron Dome. Let's give $2 billion back to the Treasury. Sounds like a win-win-win all around. Why can't we, for once in our lives, spend money on something good and take away money from something where we shouldn't be spending it? This money was never intended to go to anything but the Afghan national government. They don't exist anymore. We should reclaim that money, spend $1 billion on the Iron Dome, and put $2 billion back in the Treasury. And it might be the first time in decades that we actually did something fiscally responsible around here. But that's a problem. I don't understand why we can't do it. So I would rather than just give another $1 billion out of the Treasury that actually makes us weaker, makes us more in debt, let's offset it by taking money that's in a fund to an entity that no longer exists. So, Mr. President, I therefore ask the Senator to modify his request. Instead of his proposal, the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar item number 140, H.R. 5323. Further, that the only amendment in order be my substitute amendment, which is at the desk. I further ask that there be 2 hours of debate equally divided between the 2 hours for their designees, and upon the user yielding back at the time the Pual substitute at the desk be considered and agreed to, the bill as amended be considered third, read time, voted on, passed as amended with no intervening action or debate.